This is still a show for little girls, right? Wow, that finale happened, and that ending happened, and she happened, and... okay, one step at a time. It's a testament to how far we've come as a series that these types of premieres and finales keep getting greenlit. These episodes really feel like what they are, to the point that I wish sometimes this sort of effort was put into episodes that were in between seasons. But with another season of MLP finished and a finale that leaves us with questions that must wait until the next season, the only thing left to do is to dive into the finale. Without further ado, let's begin. The Cutie Re-Mark is a Twilight episode through and through, reminding us of the older seasons where the focus was brought away from the main six from the time being and directed towards Twilight, which makes sense since that is what Starlight was doing. Spike in this episode was written surprisingly well, although there were some points in his lines that made me roll my eyes, and it's that childlike honesty that I love can feel out of place at times. This episode is probably the most well-structured finale out of the entire series. Not only could have the episode gone in a myriad of different directions, but it embraced the simple yet effective points of writing that kept it from being bogged down with too much explanation. Only Sombra's reign needed to be explained to show us what is going to happen not only in their scenario, but with each following universe. Chrysalis's universe didn't require much explanation, as well as Nightmare Moon's, Discord's, and so on. In a world where the episode could have tried and given us more with each universe when there most likely wasn't much to elaborate on, the last few universes only having slight glimpses is a good way to avoid running too long while also showing the slow descent of Starlight and Twilight's actions into the wasteland that we finally saw. I don't know how this episode or even this scene got greenlit. This is probably the darkest point that I've seen in a children's television series. There's nothing here that tries to bandage the damage that both Twilight and Starlight have done to the universe. There's no winking at the camera. This terrible future is played out and we're only given the thought at the back of our mind that everything is going to be okay to keep us going. This scene is my favorite part of this episode, just because everything seems so hopeless, especially when Starlight seems to shrug off Twilight's depression over her ruined world. And then her Reformation happened. Okay, so the ones who knew about GM Barrow's recent book were already spoiled about both the plot of this finale as well as what would happen. I was not one of them. So this was out of left field for me, even though last week's video made it look like I knew it was going to happen. This Reformation makes 3 in this season with Diamond Tiara and Gilda happening beforehand. What do I think about this Reformation? Well, I prefer it to the alternatives. There were 2 other possibilities that the episode could have ended on, none of which I think were ideal. 1, Starlight could have been friendship lasered out of existence, but she isn't Sombra and there were no points in the story where Twilight could have forced the other 5 to find the elements of harmony or rainbow power, at least points that would have kept the time that we have, so that's out. They could have dragged this out and ended on a cliffhanger, but that would be dumb, so the only real scenario that we have is for her to be redeemed. I mean, I want to leave this conversation for Season 6 to see if they will actually use her in some episodes, but from what we've seen here, I'm mostly seeing comments that remind me of Alicorn Twilight. The sky's falling over the hiatus, and yet it won't be once we get more episodes. I can see the other side of the argument when it comes to having her not redeemed, but I don't agree. Let me explain. There is something to be said for the fact that we've had 3 redemptions in one season, whereas we've only had 1 or 2 the previous seasons. I don't think that it feels redundant, I actually believe the opposite. It's a pattern of reformations that was waiting to happen because the types of stories that you can tell with both a bitchy Diamond Tiara and a bully Gilda begin to run out. So what do? You put the characters on a new arc, one that either changes them or elevates them to something different or bigger than what they were doing previously. This is what's going to happen with Starlight, at least I hope. I'm positive that there is something planned for her. As I said in last week's video, while it's hard to figure out what exactly Starlight is going to do, destroying her was simply not an option to Twilight. Starlight doesn't have the type of motivation that previous villains did, which is why it's understandable that a reformation happened. Her motivation wasn't out of a desire to destroy the world, like Tyrek or Discord in a way. It was merely to get back at Twilight for ruining her Equality Village. Starlight spouted this throughout the episode, claiming cutie marks for cutie marks and only focusing on the one event that brought Twilight and her friends together, the Sonic Rainboom. Starlight didn't rampage throughout Cloudsdale after she stopped Rainbow from doing the Sonic Rainboom. She merely stopped Twilight from stopping her, and watched with each passing universe as Twilight had to suffer the repercussions. Starlight didn't know the consequences of her actions until she was shown, and even then she had to break down and show why she did what she did as opposed to brushing Twilight off entirely. There were chinks in Starlight's armor, and that was proof enough to Twilight that Starlight was worth saving. Going back to the Sonic Rainboom, I still haven't understood that either, and this is canonized lore from all the way back in Season 1. Cutie Re-Mark Chronicles canonized the fact that the Sonic Rainboom is what not only slowly pushed together the main six as friends like pieces on a chessboard that's bigger than our comprehension, but gave all six their cutie marks too. The Sonic Rainboom is a huge part of MLP lore, the framework for how the entirety of Equestria works. We as fans, or at least me, never really thought of this again, but this finale pushed the Sonic Rainboom back into our face and gave us a slowly descending spiral into madness by showing us the butterfly effect, or what happens when this one scenario doesn't happen. The Cutie Re-Mark Chronicles could have easily been written off or replaced with new canon, but this episode and the show from now on is doubling down upon this act. The Sonic Rainboom is what made this show and the characters and inspired their personalities. Along with that, Twilight's friendship with the other five are what keeps the universe afloat. It's really weird in a way, yet amazing. I'll probably figure out a better way to say this as the weeks blow by, but having all of these characters in the entirety of Equestria rely on one act is really neat. The last thing I want to address is how hesitant Twilight is over her importance to Equestria. We've needed this for a while now. While Twilight looks like she is slowly accepting her role as the new Princess of Friendship, the type of deep and existential questions that resonate in the back of your mind came front and center in this episode. A friendship among 6 ponies, and Spike, keeps Equestria alive, and this type of fact is really uncomfortable to a bookworm who accepts her royal status, but still prefers to be out of the spotlight. It really feels deep and dense that Twilight is questioning it, even though she knows she has to accept it. She's the main character among other main characters, but she never really thought about it until this episode. That type of self-analysis is why I question whether this is still a kid's show. Obviously it is, but man, I'm impressed. Josh Haber has written probably his best 2 episodes yet, and I'm glad that he got to pen this finale. There was so much in these episodes I didn't even know I wanted, with a deep character analysis that seems to go deeper the more you think about it. We got fodder for more fanfics with these AUs, we possibly have another member of the main 6, we had a deep and amazing Twilight episode, Spike was written well, and this finale felt more structured and better than an already amazing season premiere. I could go on, but I'll stop there. I'm frankly impressed with this finale, and I'd have to think over whether it's become my new favorite. Excellent work, Haber. I can't wait for the next season. And that about sums up my thoughts. What do you guys think about the finale? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, take a look at some of my other videos, and perhaps pledge a few dollars towards my new Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.